You can build muscle and strength with different workouts and methods, but endurance is honestly harder to build than you think. It's not just about your body, it's about how you handle stress when things start getting hard. And that's exactly where Soviet Special Forces stood out. These guys built insane endurance using a system that trained both body and mind together. But to understand their system, you need to know who these Soviet Special Forces really were. What Spetsnaz actually did. We're not just talking about Soviet wrestlers or athletes. This is about Spetsnaz, the Soviet Special Forces. These were the guys sent deep behind enemy lines completely alone in terrible conditions. And for that mission to work, their bodies had to be built for extreme endurance. Imagine having to wear a heavy uniform every day, complete with weapons, magazines, and so on. For this, you need really good endurance. So naturally, the way they trained looked very different. And honestly, I've been trying some of this myself, and my endurance has gone to a completely different level. Here's what their workout routine actually looked like. Their day started at 5:30 in the morning. Which, let's be honest, if most of us hear an alarm that early, we assume something's gone horribly wrong. But for them, that was just normal. They'd line up on the parade ground, do a quick warm-up, and then go straight into a 10-kilometer run, all in formation, every single morning. And when that's done, you'd expect a proper break. But no, it was just a 5-minute break, because after that, they would do circuit training. It's just one exercise flowing into the next without any real break in between. You only get a few minutes of rest after completing a full round, and then you go again. A typical round looks like this. You start with 10 squat jumps, then move into 30 push-ups on your fists, then 10 pull-ups. And when that's done, you get a 5-minute break, then you go right back to squat jumps, then push-ups again, then pull-ups again, and you finish with sit-ups until your body begs you to stop. And to be fair, after that kind of training, Sunday should be a rest day, right? I mean, it has to be. But for them, Sunday just meant you had to push even harder. Imagine this. You're carrying a machine gun, wearing a helmet, body armor, and dragging a duffel bag with you, easily around 30 extra kilos. And after all that, you still have to do the same 10-kilometer run, this time over rough terrain with crawling drills thrown in between. Honestly, the way they treated a rest day is what most people would call a medical emergency. Now you're probably thinking, how are you even supposed to do this? Because obviously, you're not Spetsnaz. And yeah, that's a fair question. I thought the same thing. But don't worry, later I will tell you a barren version of this, which is actually doable for you and still builds that same kind of endurance. Anyway, what we just talked about, that was their daily routine. Doing all of that will naturally increase your endurance. But here's the thing. Actually training for endurance is a bit different, and this is where it gets interesting. This is where Pavel's ladder comes in, and as you can assume from the name, it was invented by Pavel Tsatsouline, the legendary physical trainer for the Spetsnaz. His soldiers had to do something very specific. They had to complete 18 dead hang pull-ups while wearing a 22-pound vest, which is basically the weight of their bulletproof vest. And look, this wasn't just about being strong. This was about strength endurance. Being able to repeat powerful movements again and again, even when your body is already tired. So here's how the ladder actually works. You start with just one rep, then you add one more rep in the next set, then another, and you keep going like that. But you stop when you're about 2 reps away from your absolute limit. If you're grinding out that last rep, you've already gone too far. That's not how this is supposed to be done. It's better to do with a partner. One person works while the other rests, then you switch. And that rest is not just there for comfort. That rest is actually the whole point of the method. So yeah, that was the routine and one of the core systems they used. But what really matters behind all of this is that there were specific methods that help them build that almost unbreakable level of endurance. Before we get into those methods, I want to show you something important, because otherwise, honestly, it just sounds like the same recycled stuff you've probably heard 100 times. I mean, it's easy to talk about endurance in theory, But the Soviets actually lived it. GRU Spetsnaz candidates had to run 10 kilometers carrying a 50-kilogram backpack and finish it in under an hour. Just think about that for a second. Most of us struggle to walk with that kind of weight, and these guys were running with it. And it doesn't stop there. On weekends, they would go even further and run up to 40 kilometers. That's around 25 miles, like casually doing a marathon distance just as part of training. And if that sounds extreme, their MVD counterparts didn't have it any easier. They would start with a 12-kilometer cross-country run in full uniform, already exhausted, and then, without any real break, they were thrown straight into wall climbing drills, acrobatics, and then a 12-minute freestyle fight. And not with just one opponent. 3 different opponents, one after another, back to back with no rest in between. Honestly, at that point, it's not even about fitness anymore. It's about how long you can keep going when your body is already done. You're never fully recovered before the next demand hits you, just like a real mission. So when people talk about unbreakable endurance, this is what they mean. This is the proof. And to be fair, they didn't get there just by grinding through workouts. Their diet played a big role too. I'll get into that in just a bit. But first, there were basically 2 ways people trained back then. The first was to make the athlete suffer more, so they can tolerate more suffering. Push into the burn, embrace the acid. The other way was a bit smarter. Instead of fighting the burn, you train your body so it doesn't build up as much of it in the first place. And yeah, we've already gone through the first one. For example, once you go hard for more than 15 seconds, say you're sprinting or lifting something heavy, your body flips to this faster energy system called glycolysis. It gives quick energy, but it also builds up acid inside your muscles, and honestly, that acid isn't doing you any favors. It actually starts messing with your mitochondria. Now I know, that word sounds like some kind of bacteria or something, right? I thought the same at first. But not really. They are basically the power plants inside your cells. They use oxygen to produce energy. The more of those you have, the better your endurance gets. Simple as that. And this is where the other school of thought comes in with the Soviet method, called Anti-Glycolytic Training. Now the idea here is pretty interesting. You produce power, but you don't let that acid build up in the first place. You go all out for up to 30 seconds. Sprints, kettlebell swings, and squat jumps. Then you rest. Like, properly rest. Full 5 minutes. Walk around a bit, shake your arms out, just let your body calm down. And the goal is you never let that burn pile up. But honestly, when you're starting out, that's a bit much. I didn't do that either. So you can go with a shorter version. Do 10 to 15 second bursts. And keep it fast and clean. Then rest for about 60 to 120 seconds. Then you just repeat that. Now here's the part I actually like. There's this simple check to know if you're ready for the next set. Before you go again, try saying a few sentences out loud. I mean, you can say anything. Something random like, I'm subscribed to Baron's channel. But if you can't get the words out properly, then honestly, you are not ready yet. Just stop there and call it for the day. Now look, all of that was about how you actually train, but this next part is different. This isn't about the workout itself, it's about how you recover from all that exhaustion. It's called the Sistema Method, and to be fair, it's really about staying efficient when things get stressful. Most of us mess up in one simple place. Breathing. When things get hard, you either hold your breath without realizing it or you start gasping like crazy. Sistema fixes that with 4 things: breathing, relaxation, posture, and movement. You try to keep it slow and controlled, even when things start getting tough. So it's like you breathe through your nose, let your stomach expand, and then slowly breathe out through your mouth. And the reason this works is pretty simple. Tension wastes energy, and bad breathing wastes energy too. So if your body stays relaxed and your breathing stays under control, you are using less energy for the same work. And that's how they were able to keep up with those intense endurance routines without completely burning out. If you tried training like Spetsnaz guys today, honestly, you might end up in the hospital. Because like we mentioned earlier, their diet played a big role in keeping them going and actually staying healthy through all that. The Soviet Spetsnaz weren't living on protein shakes or fancy supplements. I mean, they ate to survive first and to perform. That was the whole point. Their daily food could go up to around 5,000 calories, but it was all simple stuff. Things like buckwheat porridge and some stewed meat. Then you had cabbage soup and dark bread. Nothing fancy, but it filled you up and kept your energy steady. And honestly, during the toughest phases, they would cut it down to just one meal a day. That wasn't just about diet, it was done on purpose, the idea being to toughen the mind just as much as the body. But don't get too excited and start doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, unless you're some kind of warrior or a CIA agent, you really don't need to go that far. For most of us, it's just better to train properly and keep the diet in a good place. So here's something simple you can actually follow. You don't need to run 40 kilometers or spar 3 opponents after a 12-kilometer run. But you can follow the same methods, just with less intensity. Start out with 2 to 3 easy runs per week, where you can talk in full sentences the whole time without gasping. That's it. And for breakfast, go with buckwheat porridge and some meat. Nothing complicated, just something that fills you up and gives you a solid start. Then, before lunch, add short, explosive bursts, 10 to 15 seconds with proper rest after. This is the anti-glycolytic method that we were already talking about. After that, for lunch, you can have cabbage soup with dark bread. Don't skip carbs here. Add some in. You need that energy. Because for sessions lasting more than 90 minutes, carbohydrate intake during the session itself directly extends the time to exhaustion. Think of it like your vehicle. The engine doesn't run if the tank is empty. It is literally that simple. And throughout your day, do sub-maximal sets of pull-ups or push-ups every couple of hours, never going near failure, just greasing the groove, like Pavel called it. Keep your breathing controlled through all of it. Then, at dinner, again, just keep it simple. Go for protein to help out your recovery. Something like chicken breast works just fine. And honestly, if you follow something like this, you're not just building endurance, you're building that Spetsnaz style endurance people always talk about. For an easy version of this and pointers, you can always check the description of the video and our free newsletter. Shout out to this last comment, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.